I see a question, how long will the event be? So the Pan Am Olympiad, the one on May 17th, will run from noon EST till about till a little before 7 p.m. EST. We have it at 6:40 p.m. EST right now. So about 6 hours, 6.5 hours.
During the online competition, will we be broken up into breakout rooms? Yes, you will. Yeah, precisely. When you do your presentation, there's going to be like 10, 15 breakout rooms. You'll be in one of them, not for the whole thing, but for one round. And then you come back and then you go into a different room for the next round. Okay,
So
here we go. Go on.
I can this one. So the anonymous attendee asks, great question. It is still not clear to me during the 5 minutes or the 3 minutes for team A, multiple speakers can share the time. Same goes for team B for their 3 minutes. More than one teammate can share the speaking time. Absolutely. So teams will be composed of multiple members, and they can distribute their speaking time within each speech however they want. So most teams split it up somewhat equitably between 3 or 4 members. You don't have to. One teammate could give the entire speech. It's pretty uncommon, but that is entirely up to the team and what they decide and how they want to run each individual speech. And anything to add, Archie?
That's exactly right. So I'm just trying to make sure we got every element of this question. Like, so they're saying during the 5 minute presentation or the 3 minute response, I assume that's the meaning there. Multiple speakers can share the time. Yes, anyone can speak at any point. Team B for their 3 minutes, anyone can speak. Yeah, but there's no requirement. Just, Zach, you phrased it perfect. Okay, I hope that's clear. If most of your team don't show up, that's a sad eventuality. I hope it doesn't happen. Will you still be able to present? We probably wouldn't kick anyone out if only one member of a team showed up and they still wanted to compete. I think we would just let them, but probably wouldn't be available to get prizes or like to win the competition or proceed to the. That's actually an interesting question. Zach, do you have an intuition here? We've never had that happen.
We had a team that ended up with one for a similar reason, and they competed, but would have been ineligible for prizes. The real answer is obviously we don't want to turn anyone away. Like if someone's there and they want to do philosophy and they registered and they're there and they want to be competing, of course we want everyone to compete. I mean, I think the big point is it's going to be really, really hard to be successful in a tournament like this if you are going at it alone. So ideally, you would get a team that can all commit to going.
Yeah.
Next 2 questions are about breaks. I can take this. So within the heat, there are 2 rounds. Each team will do everything. So team A presents, then team B commentary, then team A response, team A judges questions. That's what we just showed you. That's 1 round. And then the 2 sides would switch and there'd be a new case. Within the heat, there is no break. So the judge's questions for round 1 ends. Then the judge will flip to a new case, read it out loud, and you guys will do the same thing all over again, just on the different sides. In between each heat, so you're in the breakout room with another team and a judge, you do 2 rounds, you come back into the main room, then you'll have, after extensive feedback from the judge, our judges all give very, very good feedback for 5 to 10 minutes. Then you'll have 15, 20 minutes of a break before the next round. So there are breaks in between each round. Yes. So this is on the invitation, which I think should have been sent to everyone in the invitation to this as well. But I can post the link to this in the chat too. So the event schedule, this is all in Eastern Standard, but so we would have beginning, and then each round is a total of 1 hour 20, which includes feedback, and then is followed by a 10-minute break. There's a lot of wiggle room built into this, though. The round often won't take a full, will take about an hour, then you'll get 10 minutes of feedback, then you might end up with a 20-minute break. But so each round is followed by at least a 10-minute break, assuming the longest possible round, longest possible feedback time. You'll still have 10 minutes between that and your next round. And then we have a 40-minute break after round 2 for lunch, which makes sense as a lunch break in Pacific time.
Otherwise, it's just, well, maybe we should change that to a food break. But yeah.
Food break, yeah.
Okay, how long is the break? So that's the break question. If it's online, how you know if someone's reading off something? Okay, so as I said, we don't know 100%. If someone's very good at reading content, fine. It's actually not a problem for us. You are allowed to read. That's why we don't set the rule, because we wouldn't. It's hard to know. But most often, when someone is reading, it kind of is obvious. And then we're not going to immediately be like, oh, you get a 0. It's not a rule. There's no rule against it. If your presentation is otherwise perfect, that's great. The problem is, normally, if you're reading something pre-prepared and the question is at all different to the one you prepared, it's not going to sound right, is it? And also, okay, I mean, we actually probably do need a policy for this. But again, it's unenforceable. So I'm not sure what Zach and I need to think about this a little bit. But for GPT, right? Because you can just plug any of this into GPT. The problem with that will be GPT is very obvious to spot. All the people involved here have played around with that stuff so much. I do debate coaching also for a living. Zach and I both do, right? We do a lot of like public forum debating. It's extremely obvious when a student is reading from GPT. GPT just does produce something in a specific style with a specific cadence, with particular types of pairings. So we would know. We would 99% know that you are reading from GPT. And that, I mean, it just
It's
won't
also,
be a good presentation.
yeah, I mean, we'll know, and the judges are instructed to not respond great to that, because obviously it sort of counts against your skill as a philosopher if you're reading off something that you didn't produce in a very obvious way. But I'll also just add that what we're looking for and what we've described to you all today is pretty specific and niche and difficult.
Yeah.
And GPT just will not produce something as good as a top team that thinks about these things for themselves and does prep with each other and then comes up with an answer on the spot and then tries their best to deliver it in real time. That will just be a better like ultimate delivery and product than anything a chatbot writes.
And it would be quite ironic to essentially cheat in an ethics competition. I mean, that would just be the peak of irony. So at the very least, if you don't want to fall into that trap, then don't do it. Okay. Next one. I saw you take a moment before responding to the judge. You suggested 30 seconds, but went a lot longer. How much time do you have to contemplate a question before answering a judge? This is a good question. There are, as maybe you saw, there just aren't strict rules about these things. There are strict timings in terms of you can only go for 7 minutes for judges' questions, fine. Within that, honestly, I think if a judge asked a sufficiently complicated question, the team spent a minute and a half thinking of a response and then gave a 3-minute response and it was one question, one answer with some thinking time, I would see no problem with that. It's so case dependent. You've essentially asked how long is a piece of string. There is no good answer to that. Obviously, if it looks like you're really fumbling and you're like, you have no idea what to do and you're like, you sit there for 4 minutes, then it's probably going to count against your judge's questions. But there's a huge range and it just depends on the situation. Zach, anything to add?
Yeah, I would just add, I think that in Archie and Oriana's judges' questions, which was generally really good, I don't think the problem there was that they talked for a minute. I think the problem was that they talked until the very end without giving the judge any kind of answer. Like if there was a problem. So I would say like it's not really the duration, but if you're coming toward that 7 minute, you're gonna have a timer on the screen. If that's getting close to 7 minutes, you've been talking for 45 seconds, get something in for the judge, right? Like the judge has asked you a question, then you've all muted yourselves and you're on Discord and the judge has just watched your mouths move, and they're sort of sitting there wondering what's gonna happen next. And like continue the conversation, even if just unmute and say, look, we find that question super hard. Here's what we talked about. But we weren't able to achieve like a super satisfactory answer. But here's kind of how our conversation just went. That would be completely satisfactory, I think.
Yeah, we did. That last question was so good from Mars. That was a great example of like getting totally stumped. Okay, do you want to take the next one? Hypothetically?
Hypothetically, if someone needs to leave for an appointment or other duty during the event, then what would happen? So, if it's a team of, 5 students, this isn't a huge problem. Like you'll be missed, I'm sure, by your teammates, but a team of 4 can continue to do the rounds without you, and then you can come back when you're done your commitment and rejoin. Basically, this is problematic if it leaves like 1 or 2 team members left. But yes, the team is, but to answer just the specific question, the team is allowed to go on with if they lose a member.
Yeah.
They are allowed to
And
go on
then,
as long as they're still an eligible team, number of team members left.
yeah, exactly. And if you participated in even one round, you are going to be able to also, if your team wins, you will be eligible then to come to the final as well. We're not like, yeah, we're essentially not exceedingly strict on those kinds of questions. But as we've said, if a team had two members for like more than one round, we'd have to really try to avoid that. Always try to have three members in the room minimum. That would be the gold standard. Are you allowed to request the judge 30 seconds to discuss with your teammates to respond? Also, was Zach on Archie and Oriana's team? No. So yes, you're allowed to ask for 30 seconds to respond. That's a really good idea, as we demonstrated. Zach was not on our team. He was on team B. So he gave the commentary to our case. And if you go back and watch, we'll send this recording out. If you go back and watch this, you will see that Zach was asking questions that were like pressing us, right? He was asking difficult questions about our case. So no, he was on team B. If we were in a real round, he would then be on team A, or him and his team, right? He would have a full team, right? He'd be on team A, and then he would give a presentation on a new topic, and we would be team B, and we would be commenting on his. You want to take the next one?
Yeah, this next question is a great question from the Zendaya Holland. So I'm just
Whoa,
quite
she's
honored.
here.
Yeah,
She's gonna.
right in the
I hope she
room.
can fight him,
I
man.
hope
That's so cool.
that'd be a big boon for us, hey? So the question is, I know that we get the sheet beforehand stating the different topics, but will all of these topics be chosen? And if not, do we get to choose the topic? I also know that we prepare beforehand, but what does that preparation look like? These are two great questions.
Wow.
So in
Nice.
response to the first question, the case set has 8 cases. There are 4 heats. Within each heat, 2 cases are dealt with. So throughout the course of the day, you will talk about all cases. You will present on 4 of the cases, and you will be the commentary team on 4 of the cases. All 8 of them will be done, and you'll participate in. And there's no way to decide. You'll call a coin flip, but you don't see which cases the heat has ahead of time. So there's no way to figure out which ones or determine which ones you will be presenting on or giving commentary to. But yes, you will end up having rounds with all 8 cases, 4 as presentation, the presenting team, 4 as the commentary team. The second question, get to prepare beforehand, but what does that preparation look like? Well, you're going to have the cases, and you're going to have the cases often, weeks or even longer in advance, right? If you registered 3 weeks ago, you had the cases 2 months before this tournament. And those cases, each of them raises a difficult and interesting ethical dilemma, and each of them has a few practice questions. And so the long-term preparation plan would be to study those cases with your team, think about those practice questions, and think about how you would build presentations for a variety of questions, as well as trying to identify what is the key ethical issue in each case and what does your team generally want to say about it in a way that can be flexible to a variety of questions. So generally, what theories do you think are applicable? And generally, what counter arguments do you think are applicable? And like figuring out what is the core issue and what's your general strategy is often the key to good prep. Yeah, Archie.
One way to approximate that exact thing is to, when you get the case, don't even look at the question, or you should read the questions first. But when you're first discussing it, pick what would be the most straightforward version of the question. So, are robot relationships good? Boom. That's the most simple, right? Should this person do this thing? Yes or no, right? Pick the very most standard, because once you have that framework of generally how you think about the case and the general counter arguments, you're pretty well set for most questions that come up. It's unlikely that it's going to be like so unrelated to the main topic that doesn't help you. So that's how you should begin. I would do practice rounds as well if you have 2 teams. Or by the way, if you want to meet up with another team to do practice rounds before the competition, there are ways to do that. Contact us. We'll put you in touch and see if other teams want to do like little dry runs with you. There's lots of ways to practice. Also, we run we do run preparation classes for this as well. So if you want to take classes, there are ways to do that as well. You just have to message us. And yeah, we run full intro classes for total beginners. We run competition prep classes and all sorts. And then hopefully your school has like, some version of a club or a coach there who you'll meet weekly with in order to do this. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Next question. We signed up for the Western Australian competition. That's where I'm from. I think I know who you guys are. Will there be any key differences? Basically, no. Just you can't use notes, but everything else we've described is identical. Yeah. Would you get kicked out if you do? I assume we're talking about notes. No, nothing will get you kicked out of the. Oh, AI. Nothing will get you kicked out of the tournament. You will be given poor scores, and you will be probably a judge would say, hey, look, I think you might have been using it. I really don't think you should. They'll have given you a bad score, but that's it. We don't kick people out. To get kicked out of this competition, there's probably
It'd have to be conduct. You'd have to do something that would make us give you, a negative 10 out of 5 for that polite discourse part of the judges.
Yeah. Profanity, like probably like racism, bigotry, these kind of like really explicit or putting something horrible on your screen. All of this would get you kicked out, but basically nothing else.
What happens if someone is accused of GPT when they are truly genuine? They won't be. We won't. I don't think anyone's going to get accused of using GPT. If you give a presentation that seems like it's being read from something, or that seems dry, or that lacks the elements of like an organic quality presentation, the judge will score you worse. But like I said, there's no explicit penalties, so it's not like there's going to be a moment where the judge says you have been docked 10 points for using GPT, and then you'll contest that.
Yeah, but if you think about it this way, let's say you weren't using GPT, but you were going. There are 3 approaches to this topic, and these 3 approaches are as follows. As if it's just as bad as GPT would produce. Well, then you're just going to get scored for having done like an average presentation that sounded non-specific and too general, right? So there won't be this moment at all. In fact, like that's almost a risk of like maybe we just shouldn't accuse anyone of using GPT, but just mark badly for bad presentations and leave it at that. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Thank you, Benson.
If there is an internet problem, what will happen? Like someone can't hear what the other team is saying. Great question. So we cover this with all of our judges. We really don't want any team to lose or have a bad round or be just unduly stressed out by normal technical problems that happen all the time. Like as people whose entire careers take place on Zoom, we really understand that stuff does happen. So the answer to that is that we have built in Slack into the schedule to account for these sorts of things. So the judges are instructed to give 5-10 minutes to resolve technical problems if that's necessary. And then if things last longer than that, then we have to look at other creative solutions. Worst case scenario, maybe your team goes on without you for that round. But yeah, everything about the way we run the tournament is designed to make it so that people can compete and, you guys can all compete in good faith as best you can, try hard and participate. And nothing silly gets in the way of doing that, like dropping out of Zoom or the team not hearing you for a few seconds.
If there's like a citywide blackout and you guys are out for the rest of the day and all of you disappear in the click of the thing and you never come back for the competition, obviously that's like extenuating and there's not much we can do about it. But yeah, we'll be maximally flexible. Question. If there's an internet problem, what will happen? Oh, like someone can't hear. So you can call in. Surely we've all been on Zoom long enough to like know that there are solutions to these things. Judges will know. Zach and I will be there, but not be judging. We can come and help you. Like there's a million solutions. And we'll spend the time to fix those technical problems, and we'll help you. Okay.
So do you do the conferring privately on Discord? The judges and other teams doesn't hear you. In a debate tournament, which this is not, the judges in the rooms can hear the prep. Would that be a bad thing, the way judges hear your thought process to their question? Yeah, so it's a good point. Generally, the way that the discussion period, so there's a 2-minute discussion before the presentation, and then 1 minute of discussion or conference time before each of the commentary and the response. And then, as you saw, you can also confer a little bit during judges' questions. Generally, what teams do is they'll mute themselves and they'll have a voice chat channel open on something like Discord so that they can talk to each other. and plan that stuff out during those conference periods. Um, we don't have a rule against just doing it in the room. Probably for your presentation, it might not be a good idea competitively because it would give your opponents a lead on what you're going to say. Um, but yeah, that is generally how teams handle conference time.
I would say you should not have that discussion in front of the judge. Normally, it's a bit more frantic and a bit more like you just want to give them what you mean to present to them. I would just do it privately. Again, not a rule, but like that's very much the norm. So yeah, do it privately. Where can we get the video? This video, the video of this, is it email? Yeah, we'll publish it everywhere, right? We'll send it by email to everyone who is here and probably just in general. If you don't get it in like let's say 2 days, you can email us and ask for it specifically. We'll probably post it on our website. We'll post it on our YouTube. It'll be all over the place.
Would the judges clarify what the case study is about by going into detail of what the case study means if asked? Or would the speakers get to determine how it goes? For example, robot love, maybe team A thought it was about people having the passion to create robots, but team B thought it was about relationships. What would happen? Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I think in that example, like if you just defer to the actual content of the case, it's talking about romantic relationships with chatbots. So that's then what you should be responding to. That's what your presentation should be about. But in general, yeah, the judges will not clarify. The judges, a case will be read and a question will be presented, and then team A and B are really off to the races to dictate exactly how the discussion goes. But no, it's not the judge's job to direct you or like clarify, inform the case for you in any way. So it will be up to you guys. And that is the sort of thing that, if handled well, can be the subjective part of the commentary and part of the response. You guys interpreted the question like this. We think what you said was really interesting, but we think there's another question to be asked that's related to the case, which is this. And then maybe you end up talking about multiple interpretations or talking about which interpretation is more reasonable. Often it won't be that ambiguous, but yeah, deference to the competitors on this.
Yeah. Yeah. Suppose a judge is cross-examining Team A's response to Team B's questions. Okay. Though the point is to have a conversation with Team A judge is permitted to ask Team B questions about their questions to Team A, or to encourage Team A and Team B to talk to one another during 7 minutes if it seems appropriate or valuable. No, it's purely for Team A.
What the judge could do is the judge could say, Team B raised something really interesting in their commentary, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about how you would respond to it. They could ask that to Team A. Say, Team B raised this idea. You responded this way, but I actually don't think that got to the core of it. How would you respond to this part of Team B? And so you can sort of, in judges' questions, try and get Team A to interact more directly with some of Team B's material. You can try and get A to do whatever you want in judges' questions. But yeah, there is no direct dialogue with the commentary team and the judge, and there's no direct dialogue between the commentary team and the presentation team within the round. Good. Will you send everyone the schedule? Yeah, I actually have sent the invitation in the chat. So if you look at the most recent message in the big chat, that is the invitation, which has the schedule on it.
And apart from that, we will be sending, once the registration closes, particularly, we'll be sending everyone who's registered another email giving you the details, the Zoom link, the everything. But as soon as you register, within like 24 hours, you should have the cases though. If you don't have the cases, get in touch with us.
There will be...
Yeah, go on. Sorry. Yeah. How many judges will there be? No, go ahead.
Sorry. How many judges will there be? There will be one judge in each round. We will have one super qualified and trained judge in each round. The overwhelming majority of them have now judged multiple Olympiads. All of them have postgraduate experience in philosophy. Like the least qualified judge you will encounter on the day will have at least a bachelor's degree in philosophy as well as further academic experience. So it's an exceptionally talented and impressive pool. We're really, really proud of the quality of our judges. But yeah, each round is going to have one judge the whole round, give you guys extensive feedback.
And we also train our judges even between events to ensure that any problems that happen, even between rounds, we try to get the judging because like we were both competitive debaters and did Olympiad. Well, I did Olympiads. You know, we've done every speech and debate competition under the sun, and the only thing that we hate about them is when you lose because of bad judging, or like, you know, you think the judging wasn't done seriously, they didn't pay attention and stuff. We avoid that at all costs. Okay, not to brag about the judges. Okay. Finally, I missed the first 10 minutes. There will be a recording of this, by the way, that you can go back to. But let's see. Will one of the following cases assign to the team or the team chooses in advance? This was answered, but the cases are there are 4 rounds. You're going to go in, they're going to do a coin toss. The winner of the coin toss chooses team A or team B before you know what case it is. Then the judge clicks next, and these cases are predetermined before the tournament begins in a random order, not 1 through 8, but yeah. And then they click next, and then one of the cases will pop up, and there'll be a question associated with it. So you won't get to choose, and you're gonna, yeah, you get to call whether you're team A or team B if you win the coin toss, but you don't know what that means in terms of what case you're doing. So it's random. You need to prepare all of them. And it's no, so in each room there's team A and team B. They will each get a single case. I hope that I think that this question reveals a bit of a misunderstanding somehow about the thing at the beginning, right?
Yeah, the simplest way to respond to this is that there will be each competing team on the day of the tournament will do 8 total rounds, 1 for each of these 8 cases. In 4 of those rounds, you will be the presenting team, what Archie and Oriana did today. In 4 of those rounds, you will be the commentary team, what I did today. But you will deal with every case. You have to prep every case, and you really get no say over the matter of when you talk about what.
Wow, we did it. We got to the end of the questions. So unless the last 16 people in here have questions, in which case go for it. Otherwise, well, we might, honestly, in 2 minutes, if we don't have a question, we'll just call it as well, because these 15 people might be taking a bath or something. Not on their computers. Oh, one more. Thank you. This was really valuable. No worries. Thanks for coming.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it, and we hope to see you all at the events in the future.